Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in the village government and the township governments also, that those people that make regulations, rules, and ordinances that affect you out there.
And these are people that you may have recently elected, and the committees and the commissions that they appoint, and the decisions that they make directly affect you, even if you don't go to these meetings. So we're here to tell you what did happen most of the time.
Well, the other thing too is that we also provide or find humor, in what goes on in the government, and hopefully you will too. But there is one disclaimer we need to make, that everything that you see on the air,
50% rule.
everything that you see on the air and hear is absolutely 100% true.
More or less.
Okay. With that being said, we have the disclaimer. Let's go on to the first meeting, shall we?
Okay.
First meeting is something that you know something about, hopefully. It's the Area Communications Commission meeting.
Oxford Area Cable Communications
That one.
Committee.
Yes.
Commission.
Right. You got it.
That's right.
Okay.
They met on the 24th, I believe.
Yeah, it was on the 24th, and Ed Hunwick is the chairman
Right?
of that board. And first thing they did is they approved the minutes from October 27th, which is good. Get those
Yep.
out of the way, right?
Yep.
Okay. Then they said, let's talk about bills. Okay. Not Bill Service, who's the
Right.
manager, but
Our service manager.
our service manager, but bills, okay. Lori Fisher made a motion that $24,699.92 be approved.
Which included the bills for an awful lot of the new equipment that we just got here at OCTV.
Yes, and we're still working on. It's like an erector set. As you as a kid, must
Yep.
have got a erector set.
Well, this thing has lots of buttons. I don't know what they do, but I'm going to look at them.
Well, we're learning what they do, aren't
Right.
we? We haven't gotten any smoke anyway, but it's working well. We should have everything up and running, as a matter of fact, in the next week. We're going to do, I understand, a shoot for sports
And
at
if-
the high school.
And if it's not, you'll be up and running.
If it's not, I will be up and running, yes. They gave their year-to-date expense report, and they received and filed, which is really exciting. That's why we're not going to get into this part of it. Invoice, distribution report, equally exciting. So we
Whoa.
won't talk about that either. Unfinished business. Okay, now that was kind of interesting. Clarity by the attorney.
That's Bob Davis.
Bob Davis, yes, and he was there. And one of the things that they did set aside before Bob took the podium was the handbook. They're not anywhere close to working with the handbook or making it available yet. So I guess there's some legal things.
It
that
will
have
be
to
a treasure when it finally comes
a
out.
treasure. It will be worth something. Anyway, I don't know about treasure, but anyway, it'll be there. They did review the budget. As I said, they reviewed. They said that there's a problem with the payroll side of it. So they're going to cut your pay.
Well, I was expecting that.
So,
No surprise there.
right. So anyway, so they said, well, the pay is pretty close as far as the payroll is pretty close to what it was last year, but it has risen somewhat, and they want to keep an eye on it. And they mentioned to Bill Service, the manager of the station, that hey, watch that, those monies, as if Bill doesn't,
And he turned to
Pretty
me
much
and
watches
said,
it pretty
sorry
close."
about that, Dave.
Yeah, sorry about that, Dave. Yeah, we enjoyed you while you were here, David. Yeah, and I was hiding under a chair. So
We're
didn't
selling
see
you
me
off
there.
as an indentured servant.
So to make a few bucks on you.
Sure.
Maybe one or two. Who knows? Anyway, 2015, they said that, let me see, the budget is going to be what it is, and that don't expect to come back here for any more money. You have to work within the confines of the budget.
That's never stopped you since then.
Never has stopped me, but this might slow me down a bit. I'm not sure.
I see.
This time, if I ever go for more funding, I'll use your name on it.
Oh, thanks. You
No problem. Glad to
know
do
how
it.
deep my pockets are.
Let me see. The earmark funds, that kind of came up. I think it was, I'm trying to think of who brought that up.
Well,
I think it was,
it might have been the lawyer, it might have been Ed, or Buck, actually.
yeah, it was Buck Craterman who
Right,
brought that
right.
up.
And it had to do with the what do they call it, the general fund, the fund balance,
Yeah,
that it just can't sit out there as an undefined amount of money. There should be different things earmarked for parts of that fund.
Yeah, and I think Buck Kreiderman made a pretty good point there. They do understand that, but they also understand, I think, that they have to lay out a plan
Right.
for this money. Something tangible. If they're going to build a building, then they need to have it more definitive, right?
Right.
Okay.
A defined building is always good.
So, well, they were questioning what size of a building we'd be interested in having here.
As big as we can get. No.
Well, I've actually put a pencil to it, and I think a 3,000 square foot building is going to be, pretty much minimal. We have about 2,500 square feet right now. Did I say 25,000?
I saw that. It was a bunch of stick figures running around a rock.
Now, 3,000 square feet as opposed to 25 that we have now, 2,500. So it would be a good, 500 square foot addition.
But I feel that the ceiling will not be as high.
Still would like to see a high ceiling.
Right.
Probably not as high as this one. This one is really high.
Yeah. This gives you a lot of latitude here
This one must be about, what, an 18-foot ceiling?
at parts.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, we're kind of checking out the studio here, folks. Just bear with us. DVDs income. They want to know, there's been a lot of money coming in for DVDs, and Bill Service explained that the DVB business has been pretty good because of the sports that we've produced.
Well, there's
and parents
sports.
that want to.
And it's kind of like, to some extent, a little bit like our Nielsen rating. When we get an awful lot of requests for DVDs, that means that people are watching and are really interested in the programs that we do.
They also talked about what kind of money comes back to the station, from the various communities. And they had quite a discussion going on about that. A percentage that is returned from Charter, for example.
Right. Charter and AT&T, by law, have to give a certain percentage of their gross revenue to the municipalities, of which there are 4, and those municipalities have the option of giving all or a portion of that money to the station to take care of its operation.
And so, actually, I think Bill Service, the manager, was kind of looking into that. See, let me see. Is there any that they're stocking away?
Is this
like a
akin to
squirrel
squeezing
little-
blood out of a rock?
Right. So anyway, they reviewed that and worked it over pretty good.
All right.
Bob Davis, the attorney, did arrive, and he took over the podium for a while, and he wanted a review of the community ordinances and so forth that affect the station here. Also, he wanted to indicate that there's a change that needs to be made, and that is a legal entity needs to be
Right.
established.
A legal entity, and it's for a lot of legal purposes, actually. Because right now, for instance, our federal tax ID is that of we use the same one as the Township of Oxford. And he was suggesting that we get our own federal tax ID
Yep.
and still operate as a nonprofit.
Nonprofit, right.
Right.
The big advantage with this, of course, would be that, all the individuals on this board wouldn't be subject to being named, let's say if there was a
Right.
infringement,
Right.
legal suit
There's
involved.
questions of liability.
Yes. So that was pretty much agreed that was a route that they were going to take. What they need to do is they have to have an agreement with each of the townships that this is, what they're going to do, and they have to agree with it and sign it.
The so-called interlocal agreement.
That's what it is called. And so that pretty much laid out the plan for what's going to happen with the commission itself.
And I think the
and those on
sequence
it.
is, first the commission has to sign it and say, this is what we want, and then each of the municipalities in turn have to sign it and say, we agree with what you want.
Absolutely. So that's just a matter of time. Probably in the next meeting, that will be all resolved and ready to roll. The township,
You optimist.
very much an optimist. I think it's going to happen. I think they want it to happen, and it needs to be done as quickly as possible. With that, we'll be back in just a moment.
This is OCTV, Oxford Community Television, serving Oxford and Addison Townships with the best in local programming. On Charter Channel 191, AT&T UVerse Channel 99, and our website, OCCTV.org. OCTV, we provide local programming that brings you closer to home.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're talking about Addison Township and the Board of Trustees. Let's kind of wrap that one up. We'll come to a conclusion here because there was another lady that stood up and she said, what happened with the ZBA meeting and the septic situation? And where the guy wanted a variance, for his septic field. And
Because it was too close to the water.
too close to the water. Got to be within 100 feet. Anyway, Ed Brakefield, I think it was, spoke up and he said, well, I believe, he said that is dependent on the ZBA going out, inspecting the property and seeing if it's justified or not.
Didn't they?
No, they hadn't done that yet at the time of this
Oh.
meeting. But they said that they would do that and would be back, to discuss it at a later date. The ZBA would make that decision soon. Another thing this one lady said is that, hey, there's gunshots all over. Do we have any type of...
And someone said, duh, it's hunting season.
It's hunting season. But she says, they're shooting after dark. Well, Bruce Pearson says they can't do that. Well, they are. Well, the kids aren't out for school bus after dark, but it's still illegal. Well, they're shooting before daylight.
But hunters typically will go out at twilight, either in the evening or
Right.
in the morning.
But the way the state law reads is that they're not allowed to shoot their weapon or their gun before sunlight and sundown, after sundown.
Is that within Addison Township only, or is that a Michigan
That's
law?
in Michigan law.
Really? Okay.
The other thing is that they're supposed to be within 450 feet of a property line, if they're firing a weapon or a gun.
But
But they said it's no surprise.
that's no consolation to someone that knows that a bullet can travel about 1.5 miles to 2
Right,
miles.
Exactly, yeah, high velocity. And here's the point. One of the board members said, well, we can't do a whole lot about it, from a township standpoint. And Bruce Pearson said, no, he said, that's a state regulation. They control, the DNR controls all of this. We have no say in it.
So they can't make a regulation that's stiffer than what
No.
the state has.
No, and Bruce said, here's what I'll
Nor
do.
can they make one more liberal.
Who knows what danger lurks?
Well,
That's part of that
The
humor
shadow
I'm
does.
talking about. Anyway, Bruce pointed out that, I'm going to help you here. I'm going to contact the chief, or the person in charge of the police department here, and the sheriff's department. He said, have a meeting set up where you can discuss state, laws and regulations, what can be done, to protect. So he said, no. He said, get a hold of my office. He said, we'll work it out.
All right.
So, good deal. Let me see what else we got.
still in Addison?
We're in Addison, but we're going to leave Addison.
Moving
gonna leave
along,
right
folks.
now.
Get on the bus. We're moving into what?
We're going now into the International Academy of Public Forum that they have.
Everybody get off the bus at the school. Okay, come
All
on.
right,
Here
at
we go.
the school. Now that's quite a subject because that's been going on for a while. And it's a company from China that wants to build a classroom and dormitory.
That's the Wei Ming Group.
Yes, for about 200 students, I understand, is what they're looking for.
Plus classrooms.
Well, yeah, they're going to have classrooms. And as far as the classrooms go, they are looking for, let me see, they're looking at two 1,200 square foot classrooms. They're looking at two 918 square foot, looking at four 900 square foot, and one 3,100 square foot, which would be a common room
Okay.
for them. And one of the individuals in the audience, one of the residents said, where are they going to put this building? Well, you know where it's going to go, right?
Yeah, I know where it's
Supposedly.
gonna go.
Where?
Corner of Ray Road and Oxford Road.
It is. The most logical spot.
Right
She
on
says-
school property.
Well, she says, well, what about the pond? There's a pond there. What are you going to do with it?
That's more of a retention pond, isn't it?
He said, well, we'll probably reduce the retention pond in size somewhat.
That seems a little odd because they're actually putting another building up.
Yeah, and I don't know how they're going to control that, but they are...
Unless the pond was overqualified to start with.
Right. And what's interesting is if they're on school property, then they're subject to all the regulations and rules.
And
that are-
taxes.
Well, not...
Taxes because of the lease that they've got from the school.
Taxes aren't going to be paid for at least for 2 years according to the agreement. So that's part of the agreement.
With who?
There's a 20-year contract
Who do they make that agreement with? The township?
with the school right now. This is school property,
Well, that's true, but they're leasing it from the school.
right?
And
And
if
the
they're leasing
property
it,
is school
and if they're leasing it from the school, shouldn't it be
The
a
property is
township
school.
prerogative to tax them, not the schools, to
Well,
get out?
That's apparently an agreement. Actually, it's worked with the state. The
Oh.
state is working with this project. So it goes a little bit higher than that.
Harumph.
Yeah. But the question was, well, how big is this building going to be? And is there going to be any area green ground, for example, for these kids to go
Frolic.
outside? Or is it going to be asphalt, which is the parking lot, which is next to? And they said, well, we'll probably plant some trees and, there'll probably be some grass there or whatever, So that's
Well,
part of it.
I saw and it may be just a preliminary drawing of the building, but it looks like any hotel that you would see going along the road.
No, definitely. Yep. Pretty good sized building.
Yep.
They had a representative from Oakland County for this, and I'm trying to think of his name. Hold that thought, folks. We'll be right back.
Who shall remain nameless?
Who shall remain nameless? You got it. Matt Gibb.
He used to be the supervisor of Orion Township.
Really? I didn't know that.
Didn't he?
I don't know. Anyway,
thought
he
so.
was there, and he explained to people.
Maybe it's a different Matt. Maybe it's a different.
Well,
Gibb.
this guy is in charge of the county economic
Maybe
development.
it's Gibbs from NCIS. I don't know.
No. This, you watch too much TV. This guy is the economic development
Person.
mucky muck guru, great kahuna.
Lawyer.
That guy. Yeah, he probably is. But
He is.
He actually lives on Lake Orion, and he had to leave early, because his son was going to be involved in something Lake Orion had going on. But anyway, he spoke, and he said that it is a project that would be surely invited, by the county. That the county, Oakland County, has 1,400 multinational firms, the largest of any county in Michigan and in the United States.
In the United States.
In the United States.
Wow.
The next number that they have is 300, and that's in the county Fairfax in Virginia. 300. So he said, for example, if you go to Troy,
We're turning into a real cosmopolitan area.
he said if you go to Troy, there's a lot of Chinese and so forth, different groups in Troy. So for some reason, and we're advocating you put this in Oxford because of the versatility of this, but if you don't put it in Oxford, it's going to go somewhere. In other words, it could go to Troy.
I understand Troy also has an international academy.
It does, but nothing like what they're talking about doing here.
Right.
So with that, let's take a break and we'll be back right after this. Yeah, there's quite a bit going on here.
Yeah.
Here we are in front of American Legion Post 108 in Oxford. Now, every Friday between 12 and 8:30, they serve up some of the best fish in Michigan. Follow me inside. We're going to take a look around the post. All right, here we are now on the hall side of the post where you can get tables for anywhere to 6 to 30 people. And before or after you're done eating, take a walk around and browse through the second largest military museum in the state of Michigan. All right, now we're over on the restaurant side of the post where most of the fun happens. As you can see behind me, they've got darts, pool tables, 50-50 raffles, and any kind of fish you can think of, baked cod, walleye, combo plates, all right here at your beck and call.
Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. And in
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of our Community Access.
Welcome to My Life. We're sitting here with Oxford Village Manager Joe Young.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
I'm John Ochins, and welcome to the first edition of our new program, Schooling Around.
Welcome to Taiji Health.
Good morning, and welcome back to Rise and Shine Yoga. I'm Paul.
Hello, everybody, and once again to Oxford Varsity Basketball tonight with Harrison, Rod Wright, Bill Silvers, Elgin Nichols, and the principal is here, Rod.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're talking about Addison Township Parks and Recreation. And we worked our way to where they think they need a tractor or a four-wheel drive.
That has expanded to be about $15,000.
Yes, and they needed also to tote back chainsaws and that kind of thing because the trail.
Where do they get their money from, by the way?
They get it from, well, grants. One of the things is grants, I know, that they apply for and they get from the DNR.
Right.
Another thing, I think they get a subsidy somehow from local taxes,
Okay.
you know. But I think it's mostly subsidized by grants, you know, if I'm not mistaken. I know they had they had quite
Now they're going to write a little letter that says, grant me a four-wheel drive tractor with a plow?
No, well, there's also contributions that, you know, a lot of, you know, different residents will make.
Sure.
And it goes into the general fund. So they do have some extra monies to deal with. Maybe like Smokey the Bear, they need to just charge entry. Maybe a quarter each or something, I don't know. Like Charlie Brown would say, a nickel. A nickel would do it.
No, you charge them a nickel to get out.
You get, oh, yes, I like your idea even better.
That's even more motivating.
Yeah. Well, Charlie said, you know, you remember a few years ago, I'll tell you, these guys got memory like hawks. A few years ago, he said, this company offered to...
When I was a child.
Yeah, this company offered to give us a tractor, a brand new one, at that time. I believe it was a John Deere.
But they don't remember that statement.
Well, they'll look it up and find out who it was. As a matter of fact, they said they would do that and see if they could still...
They could only remember the name.
put the hammer lock on them, you know, and see if they can get them to do it. So anyway, so they're
It's
looking
beginning to feel a lot like Christmas.
Yes, it is.
Can I have a four-wheel drive?
Maybe they have a four-wheel drive. Anyway, so that's one thing that they said, well, we'll put that on the burner and we'll see what we can do. They said that if they get one, where are they going to keep it? You know, that was a problem they had originally.
Ah,
They said, well, we can keep it in the old schoolhouse where it has a basement. We'll just store it down there. There's lots of room down there, you know.
those restrooms aren't big enough?
They have double doors that allow them to bring this stuff in. And they said, we have...
Restrooms have no doors. They can get in really easily.
Yeah, but I don't think you can store a lawnmower in there. Smokey the Bear or all the
well,
bears should get in there, but I think that's about it. Anyway, they have, remember a while back they talked about a lawn tractor that was donated to them?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
They haven't got it going yet. It's still there, and they've completely reworked it pretty much. And they worked their way
There
right
must have been a reason why it was donated.
They worked their way right to the carburetor, you know, the thing that provides gas for the engine to run. And so they said, we're that close. We can almost hear it run. But by this spring, we should be ready. You know, we're not saying you should use this lawnmower for hills, but on straightaways, it'll work perfect. So anyway, so they're working on that in the basement.
What's the story about hills?
Well, I guess it doesn't have the power, long endurance to be able to go up and down hills. I think that could be a
Well,
problem.
don't they use a rope and make a sweeping motion with it?
Yeah.
Tighten it up a little bit each time?
Just put a bungee cord on one end, and as it goes down, it just, yeah, you could do that. Right. They
Makes
can
an
figure that
interesting
out.
pattern in a
They're
lawn,
pretty
too.
innovative out there. They'll figure it out. I
I'm
think.
sure they will.
Let me see. Trash barrels, nail the containers down. And they need 2 new barrels, so they're going to bring a couple of new ones into the park.
Someone's
Probably
stealing
this
them?
spring, though. Chipmunks.
Chipmunks.
I understand that somebody has moved chipmunks to their park.
So you nail
thousands
the container down, and then you go to empty it, and you go, it's nailed down!
Yeah. Well, I think they have a
Bobby,
lock.
climb in and throw that out, will you?
I think they have a chain, you know, goes around it or something
I
like
see.
that. So anyway, they
Okay.
have it worked out. They're pretty smart.
All right.
Or maybe they just dug a big hole below it. It just falls through the barrel and whatever. They've got it figured out, I know. Let me see. So there will be a new door put on the restroom, probably not before this spring. So don't go to the bathroom out there in the wintertime. And the other subject was, hey, got new bathrooms. That's okay. But what about toilet paper? They said, well, the bears don't mind. Well, we
Yeah.
do. They said, well,
Well-
we make arrangements for that.
You can use boughs, I guess, you know. Just be sure you don't use blue spruce. That's really sharp needles.
You would know too, huh? Would you tell me more?
The evolution of toilet paper.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this guy was really poor when he lived on the farm. He had to eat birch bark, too, I hear. Anyway, there are trees down on the trail, so they got to cut the trees off, too. And they said, hey, if we had that tractor, we'd be able to pull those tree limbs right out of the way, so that'd work great, too.
If I had a tractor, I could pull that tree in the morning.
One good thing, accolades were given to Pauline Bennett for a grant that she was able to achieve. So
Oh.
see, now you asked where the money come from.
Ah.
Pauline is out there struggling and pushing.
How
to
big
get
was
it.
the grant?
They didn't say. Didn't stay and say. So no, they did get a grant, and the amount wasn't given that night. One more quick thing, and that's the Board of Education, December 24th. We're going to go to that one real quick because Dr. William Skilling resigned.
Resigned.
He resigned.
Oh.
Yeah, he's going to stay on until August 31st.
Well, there was a little suspicion there that since he was going to move to another state, that something could be in the air.
Yeah, and there's something before that too. It's turned out he's not in very good health either.
Oh.
So that's a concern.
Oh.
So-
I didn't know that.
Yep. So what do you got coming up?
Well, we got a plethora.
One more thing.
No. What?
Dr. Skilling, we're going to miss him. Good job.
Yes. We have a plethora of meetings.
A what?
A plethora.
Tell me more.
On
Inquiring minds wanna know.
12/8 at 7 o'clock, the Oxford Township ZBA, and also on 12/8, the Village of Leonard Council. On 12/9 at 7 o'clock, the Oxford Township Parks and Rec, and at 7:30, the Addison Township Planning Commission, and at 6:30, the Village of Oxford Council, and you won't be there anymore. At 12:10, at 7 o'clock, the Oxford Township Board of Trustees. At 6:30, Oxford Board of Education, and it's going to be held at the board offices, and there's going to be some kind of awards and stuff given out. Anyhow, on 12/11 at 7 o'clock, Oxford Township Planning Commission, and at 7:30, the Addison Township Zoning Board of Appeals. And at 12:15, at 7:30, the Addison Township Board of Trustees. And at 6 o'clock on 12/15, the Village of Oxford DDA.
Now, I think folks should check, the schedule again. If you plan on attending any of these meetings, just make sure they haven't canceled any of them.
Christmas is coming, and people, kind of fade out a little bit.
Do you realize it's mid-December already? How did that happen?
I thought we already went through winter. That's pretty nice now.
And not only that, did you notice that every week there's more Fridays than there are Mondays now?
What?
When you were a kid, you probably couldn't, you hated it because Monday was coming. Now as you get older, it's Friday again. What's with that?
I think you've been taking the wrong drugs.
Will you please give me the right ones for a change? I don't know what you've been giving me, but it hasn't been working.
Your circadian clock is all screwed up.
I understand that part of it. Okay. Anyway, this is Minutes by Minute, and I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we'll catch you next time.